Welcome to LEWAS Amplified. In LEWAS, we drive authentic conversations focused on cross-cultural communications, awareness, diversity, and inclusion. I am Mujahed AlSayouhi, your second guest host. Last episode, you've heard from Alex and Sheila touching upon the future of work. In today's episode, we'll be dissecting on a less explored topic. Research suggests that there are more than 2 billion people that are categorized or classified as Generation Z, or people that are born between 1997 and 2012. They represent more than 30% of the global population, and it is predicted that by 2025, they would make up approximately 27% of the global workforce. Today's burning question: how can energy companies attract, develop, retain, and engage this critical talent segment? To talk more about this topic, joining me today is Mette Hersby, Leadership Succession Manager at Shell. Mette has a PhD in social and organizational psychology and has more than 12 years of experience working in the oil and gas industry. Hi, Mette. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Mujahed. Great to be here.
So let's dive deep into the topic. Generation Z are already part of today's workforce. According to research that was conducted by Deloitte, Generation Z would no longer form opinions of a company solely based on the products and services that they provide to consumers, but they would also form opinions of a company based on their societal impact. Another research by Deloitte have also suggested that the number one concern for Generation Z workforce today is in regards to climate change, even much more concerning for them than unemployment. When we think of oil and gas companies, there are some criticism that is being pointed towards oil and gas companies when it comes to their role into carbon emissions. Do you think that energy companies are successful when it comes to attracting this pool of talent?
Thank you. It's a great question, and I think, as you point out, the competition for talent is very real. Industry attractiveness, as you mentioned, as well as increasing competition, for example, from technology companies. The constant evaluation that takes place of companies via channels such as Glassdoor, but also I think the virtualization of work, which means that people can basically work globally from anywhere, and you no longer have to work in companies in your hometown. All these different things mean that the landscape for recruiting and retaining talent is incredibly competitive. So I think companies within the sector have to attract talent within this context. So they have to adapt accordingly, and they have to be able to clearly articulate their offering, I think, both as an industry, as an individual company, but also in terms of the development programs that they offer to the Generation Z talent that are looking to join the workforce or maybe looking to join a new company. So we need to bring the best talent into the industry to secure the industry's contribution to the future of energy and to be able to deliver the constant innovation that's required. And I think, amongst many other things, if we think about our industry, there is a huge research and development agenda ahead, including the evolution of the digital technologies that are required to meet the energy needs of billions of people every day. So if you think about it, human ingenuity, talent, is and has an essential role in delivering that. And I think a lot of people would find that incredibly fascinating. It's a massive challenge. And I think in terms of attractiveness, I think that's where the industry plays, because there are lots of people who want to be able to contribute towards resolving these issues that our world is facing.
Great. Speaking of the digital technology evolution, and there's a lot of emphasis when it comes to green energy that is being focused by the different oil and gas companies, and which we look into Total Energies, we look into Saudi Aramco, we look into Shell in Europe as well. There's a lot of investments that are happening when it comes to this. So I absolutely agree. Moving on, when it comes to learning and development, and given that the average time for autonomy when it comes to developing employees in the energy sector is considered much higher than other sectors of the economy. What sort of learning and development strategies would you recommend that oil and gas companies would need to focus on today in order to develop the future workforce?
Yeah, I think I think you hit on a very important point. If we think about the energy sector and the fact that it deals with some of the most advanced technology, complex value chains, many of the energy organizations are large cross-cultural organizations that are tackling significant global challenges. And it is true that that requires both breadth of experience and depth of knowledge if you want to successfully navigate that. And therefore, I think you have that, what we sometimes refer to slightly longer time to autonomy in our sector, maybe compared to some other sectors. So I think what that means for learning and development strategies, that they have to be constructed accordingly. And I think I would highlight, I think probably four elements in that. So I think we all know that we learn best on the job. If you were to learn to ride a bicycle, I could show you a PowerPoint presentation around how that is best done, but probably the best way that I could teach you would be to take you out, show you a bicycle, and we would practice. So I think with that philosophy in mind, we have to provide the best opportunities for new joiners to work across a number of different roles that offer a broad range of challenging responsibilities within the actual workplace. I then think the second thing is that on-the-job experience then need to be complemented by formal training, where we give people the opportunity to really enhance their practical training through formal learning courses that are specific to their areas of expertise. So something that truly complements what you have been doing on a day-to-day basis, and then helps you take that to the next level. I think if you have the practical element, you have sort of the slightly more classroom element, if you will, you then have to have a structure around that, which allows you to check your progress. Am I, as an individual, progressing, developing as anticipated? Am I meeting the development goals that I have set for myself? So we have to ensure that we have a structure whereby people get high quality feedback, and that the development needs are addressed in a timely manner. And then I think around that structure, what you want to have is access to coaching and mentoring. So in large organizations, that can be very difficult to navigate because there are so many networks, many of them maybe be set up in a matrix structure. I think having a senior, either a supervisor or a senior individual somewhere else in the organization who can help guide your development and progression is paramount. So someone who can support your career action planning, provide all the means necessary to achieve the desired development and career goals. So if I had to summarize that, so four elements, I think challenging and substantial responsibilities from the very first day that you enter the business, combined with structured training, regular check-ins, and inspiring mentors and leaders around you who can provide you with that sense of direction and that sense of positioning in your overall career.
Great. Do you think the introduction of, because we're seeing this in a variety of industries, where they're introducing some sort of simulation exercises, so rather than working on the rig in order to be trained, you can work in a simulative environment in which you can actually simulate that you are working in a rig, and therefore you can operate the rig accordingly. Do you think these type of technologies that are emerging would significantly reduce the average time frame for development?
I think I think they have the potential to. I think there's a couple of things around simulations. I think first of all, we have seen through the global pandemic, COVID-19, that we're living through right now, that we will increasingly use simulation or digital technologies to get closer to our assets in situations where we cannot physically visit. So I think we will see it more and more. And I think therefore us getting familiar and used to using these technologies is incredibly important. I think what I have with simulation, when you think about as a development tool, I think it's as close to as you can get to actually doing things for real. I think we truly learn when we have felt it, whether it's in our fingertips through doing something, or whether it's a simulated situation where, even as an HR professional, you are giving feedback or you are doing something and you feel what it's like, you feel the reaction to your actions. So I do think indeed it has the opportunity to accelerate some development opportunities that we've traditionally have done in a different way.
Super. And this makes me want to jump to the next point that we have. And basically, there was a study that was conducted by the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants that was jointly done with the International Federation of Accountants. And they have suggested that 60% of Generation Z are expected to shift roles within every 2 years or so. And when we think of this from an employer perspective, this creates quite a dilemma for all companies and energy companies in specifics when it comes to developing their future retention strategies. What are your thoughts and what energy companies need to do today in order to engage and retain the future workforce?
The question of why individuals stay and build their career in one company rather than moving between many, I think is such an interesting one. And I think you and I both come from companies where we have a tradition of people staying for a very long time. So I think there is a little bit of a sort of the $1 million question in there. Because there is indeed the expectation that future generations will manage their careers very, very differently than let's say their parents did. So I think to attract great talent to stay, and I think that goes for previous generations and it goes for the generations coming into the workplace now as well. First of all, I think you have to have the fundamentals right. And with that, I mean, you obviously have to have a competitive compensation and benefits package. You have to go, especially now, I think today, you have to have great workplace flexibility that shows that you take work-life balance seriously. And I think you also have to have the best possible tools and systems and processes in place to enable people to do their work and do their work really well and do their work efficiently. In addition to that, I think what we're increasingly seeing and what people are looking for is that companies that have a strong diversity and inclusion culture, a positive, a welcoming, a supportive company culture where people have a positive experience from day one. I think we see that it matters more and more that when you come in on the first day, people know that you're coming, they're expecting you coming, they know who you are, they have an idea of how you can contribute, and you're already welcomed into the ecosystem of that organization. And I think people are looking for an environment where they feel free to contribute and where their achievements and delivery is celebrated. And then I think, and that's perhaps the most important thing, is that companies, organizations have to offer great careers, great jobs, great trajectories where people work on real life challenges and people have a sense that they are making an impact. They are part of a change and they want to do that in an environment where the leaders that they work with genuinely care about their career growth and empower them to be a better version of themselves. So I think there's lots of things beyond the fundamentals. I think there's a big culture piece, and then of course there's a massive career piece as well.
Great. You've mentioned that basically there needs to be a transition towards in which companies need to market themselves as the greatest place to work. When we think of energy companies, some might view energy companies or oil and gas companies in specifics might be a bit too rigid when it comes to certain HR policies, such as flexible working requirements, working remotely. Do you think these will be quite challenging for the Generation Z to accept? And do you think that energy companies in general are adapting more and more towards these flexible policies?
Yeah, I think so my observation is indeed that I think companies are increasingly looking to future-proof their offering. So indeed, I am seeing more and more people having a look at their traditional setup and how they do things today, and really reevaluating, what that will look like in the future. And I think what we perhaps traditionally have seen is something where there's been a focus on one size fits all. And I think we're now shifting to I would say, a policy spectrum where we work much more with a hybrid of things. Because I think we all know that working in an asset somewhere where you have to have a certain work schedule, there has to be certain patterns, both for the well-being of the people that work there, but also most importantly for their safety. And then I think there are other things that you can do where you have the opportunity to introduce more flexibility, where you think about, an office environment in a large city, etc., where maybe people have a very long commute, and therefore you want to start offering more flexibility or doing something different. So I think what we are seeing is a shift from the more traditional one size fits all, and we will all do the same thing irrespectively of where we are, to introducing more bespoke setups that fit the specific group of employees who are working in a certain environment.
Great. And this makes me want to jump to the last question that we have for today's episode. What is your message to the young talents, and particularly those that are in Generation Z who are listening to our episode today? And do you have any advice for our audience that are holding HR leadership or HR professional positions?
Well, I think to anyone listening who are about to join the workforce or have just joined, I would say, welcome to the fascinating world of work. And as you look around and you determine your first career step, I think I would encourage people to think both about culture and about career. And I say that, so when I say culture, it's because knowing if a company is a good fit for you is incredibly important to my mind. So I would encourage individuals to be clear about what is important to them in terms of values, in terms of leadership qualities, in terms of inclusion, the diversity of the senior role models that they see within a company, as well as workplace flexibility that we just talked about. And then from a career perspective, I would encourage them to think about, think about joining the energy sector. I think we know energy is vital to our daily lives, and over the coming decades, more and more people will gain access to energy, and they will enjoy higher living standards because of that. And therefore, the industry needs the very, very best talent to innovate and to be able to develop the technologies to unlock more and cleaner energies for the years ahead, and for the growing population. To my HR colleagues, I think I would probably reflect on the fact that it's clear that we face a very complex landscape when it comes to attracting and retaining talent. And that means, that there are some great challenges ahead, and we need to continuously improve whether it will be our graduate or entry-level programs, to make sure that they remain relevant, exciting, and indeed, as we spoke about, also future-proof. And I think that means we have to do something about our programs, but it also means that we have to work with the leaders around to ensure that we offer a really great onboarding experience, and that we sharpen our approach to flexibility and personalization of the development of the people who join our companies, and that we continue to contribute towards creating great work environments that are conducive to solving these very, very complex challenges that are ahead for our industry.
We operate in a very complex environment indeed. Thank you very much once again, Mette. It was a pleasure having you in our talk series. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our episode for today. But before you leave, we ask you if there are any other topics you want us to discuss. Please share it with us in the comments box below. That concludes our episode for today. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time at LEWAS Amplified. Until then, مع السلامة.